call to the stage three distinguished guests so far. One is on his way. I call a very famous Indian writer who's written books on Lahore, who lived in Mahalla Bolia inside Lahore. Next, I'd like to call on stage distinguished journalist, editor of Newsweek, scholar, teacher, mentor to many. You also probably, Mr. Khaled. And lastly but not least, is a well-known Lahore person from the famous Fakir family, who've been serving Lahore since the days of Majeed Singh, Aijazuddin. We'll try to leave as much room as there is to ask questions and to seek opinions. But I'd just like to start this session, or before I speak, with a little presentation as a welcoming message from Malala for the Lahore.
Literary Festival. It is wonderful to hear about the Lahore Literary Festival, and it's wonderful to hear that it's undergoing in the great cultural and historical city of Lahore, where we can see that there have been great poets and historians and artists, and we have great poets such as Allama Iqbal, and we have Ahmed and Habib Jalib, and I'm really happy that we have all taken this step to show art to people and to show literature to people in our society, because it's very necessary and it's an important part of our life, because it's not just poetry or writing books, it's also sharing your feelings with other people in society, and it's like a relationship of one community with other community. And also, you tell your message to other people, and I think it's necessary in Pakistan, and especially it's necessary for children so that they take interest in reading books. And I'm really sorry that I couldn't be there, but still, I think it's a great opportunity for me to talk to you, and I hope that one day I may join you all, inshallah. And thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to talk to you. Thank you.
The sound of the oppressed at the very young is so refreshing. But as this is a literary festival, I would like to just dwell for a few minutes on where it all started. Where did Lahore become important as a literary breeding ground? If we go to the pre-Vedic age and we look at the village of Saratura, as it is in the Mahabharata, we see two brothers, Rishi Panini and Rishi Pagara. Panini is the man who set about writing the first rules of grammar, which are even today followed all over the world. He is the father of grammar, and he belonged to Lahore. And his brother, Pingala, was the man, a genius of a mathematician, who conceived of the concept of zero, from which the binary numeric theories derived, the foundation of modern computing. And his pupil, Hardagara, he writes, and as I'm doing some research in Cambridge on this issue, he writes that they would sit next to the river discussing everything under the sun, from the stars to the fact that probably women were more powerful than men. And so I suppose 2,500 years ago, that was the first literary festival taking place. And we've traveled a long time down the road to this place. We tend to forget that there is a history before Mahmud Ghaznavi hit and sort of ravaged this land. We know of the Mahabharata and the battle of the 10 kings took place on the banks of the Ravi. Yet little do our students learn these things. And we come down to the whole convention of getting together. We have the famous paddocks in the walled city, in Chuna Mandi, Allahabad, and these people used to have their own paddocks. And then after partition, you had the Park Tea House, which again died down. So I suppose with so many people participating, it only makes sense that those literary get-togethers takes the form of a mass movement like the one we are participating in. So this is part of a very old tradition of Lahore, the city of colleges, of learning, of poets, artists, and people like them. As we have only 1 hour in which to operate, I would request the speakers not to try to exceed 10 minutes. And I'd like each one of them, starting with the great Pran of India, to speak on the subject before us. We have here Mr. Aitzaz, who was our 4th missing speaker. I think all of you know about him, but I know him as the writer of the Indus Saga, the man who presented the theory that the people of the Indus Valley have always been a bit different, which is exactly what the great grammarian Rishi Panini spelled out at the end of his great work, that there is a difference in the lingo of the north and the south. So he really moved on from that point of view. The work that I am doing at Cambridge, I very much agree with the basic theory. But he will also be speaking on what he has to say about Lahore, literature, and longing for Lahore. But going back, let's start from the great Pran. Sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sheikh. It's indeed a great honor for me to be back in my hometown. Not after so many years, but after 1 month only. I was here last month, I was here in December. And in this distinguished gathering, of course, I am for the first time. There is Mr. Ahsan, the author of Indus Saga. There is Mr. Sheikh, who is so much writing about Lahore. And here is Mr. Khaled, the most distinguished intellectual and columnist of the subcontinent, whom I read religiously every week. And here is the historian, the art historian, whose book in Lahore I still keep it by my side. The only book which carries the images of Lahore of the 18th, 17th, 19th, and 20th. So in this August gathering, I don't know what to say about Lahore. They are from Lahore, but in my case, I belong to Lahore. I was born here, brought up here, educated here, and then for 50 years I did not visit, because I wanted to preserve those great images of my childhood, my boyhood, and my early youth. To preserve those images, for me it was very important, because I had a dream to write a book on my city, on my Lahore. It's not a city of, it's not a book on history of Lahore or my life in Lahore, no. It's the social and cultural scene of Lahore that was during my childhood and boyhood and youth days. That is, I covered the period from 1920s and 40s. And this period for me is very important. After that, this book made me an author and writer. I am now supposedly an acknowledged authority on the Raj, having done about 8 books on the British Raj. But it is the Lahore where I am always invited to speak. 15 years ago, there was in the University of Texas at Austin, they had some seminar, something on partition. They asked me to speak on Lahore. There were 20 in 2000, there was a conference on 3 Punjab, Punjabi diaspora, Indian Punjab, Pakistani Punjab. I was again specially requested to speak, not on partition so much, but on Lahore. So it is Lahore which is dear to me, and I think Lahore also seems to like me, knowing, witnessing the audience and the encouragement that I received with the clapping when my name was announced. Now, why there is something so special in Lahore? It's a great city, it's an eternal city, as I've said. Of course, Rapsi Sidhwa was very clever. She said it's a city of sin and splendor in the Lahore, in the Indian edition. But in the Pakistani edition, she wrote, "My beloved city." When this book was launched in Delhi, in there, Pakistani High Commissioner was there, Mr. Ahmed, and Pepsi was there, and I was also present there. Then the Pepsi and the High Commissioner said, "No, we should ask Pran, Nevile, to do the reading from the book, because he is the ambassador of Lahore. I am the ambassador of Pakistan. He is the ambassador of Lahore in Delhi. So he should do the reading." So I got the honor of reading from Pepsi Sidhwa's book, where she writes that I am her most favorite contributor because she took 2 chapters from my book. Anyway, that is an old story, and I am always very happy to be in Lahore. In fact, I feel at home in Lahore more than I feel at home in Delhi. I have been 30 years abroad, but I still have an exile's feeling when I am out of Lahore. That is so dear to me, this Lahore. There's an old saying, "Khaiye kanak, I bhukhi ho. Rahiye Lahore, I chukhi ho." There used to be, it was neither poetry, you see, we are neither good in, we Punjabi Lahoriyas, we are neither good in Punjabi, nor in Hindi, nor in Urdu, nor in English. Because the people always find, these people have something. Even in my day, they said we have no culture. For Punjabis, they have only agriculture. It's the only culture. Anyway, there was always a competition between Lahore and Lucknow. Lucknow people thought that they're the most sophisticated culture in their language, their style. So Lahorians thought nobody could beat them. So they said that Lahore is the center of culture. So this festival we are having here, at that time also, in the British days also, Lahore was the seat of literature, culture, performing arts, visual arts, and everything. So much so that authors of Lucknow used to get their books published in Lahore. Most illustrious, best journals in Urdu were published from Lahore. I still remember going and all that. So they said, somebody made a small couplet. Oh, Shah, Mundri. Look at the simplicity of Punjabi poets. Oh, Shah, Mundri. लखनऊ शहर नगीना जब उन्हें देखा लाहौर तो भी पिया गमीना. So these are simple old things which especially about Lahore. But the dearest thing about Lahore, which still survives with me, is the music of my time in Lahore. Lahore became the center of the film industry, and this part, before partition, 1947, 46, great artists, producers, used to come to Lahore to play their roles in the film produced in Lahore. But things changed, and most of the artists from Bombay came here, from here they went over there. but still the great music makers, the melody makers of Lahore, I'm so fond of them, and I've organized separate musical functions. That's my other passion and hobby is music, and it is my dedication to K.L. Sehgal, who also belongs to Punjab, although he never lived in Lahore, except he visited Lahore in 1937, and his concert in Window Park is a chapter in my book. But I always have melody makers of Lahore in their honor and memory. I have organized many functions, and I'm glad to say that one of my artists, Reni Singh, who has been singing for me in Indo-musical journey and so many, whether paying tribute to Malka Tarannum Noor Jahan or Bab Bano, she has been singing for me in there. So I don't think I should take more time. Later on, if there are any questions, I'll certainly. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Which have to be dealt with. We thought that with the cement of Islam or ideology or religion, we could overcome violence and the separateness of these various identities. And we turned West Pakistan into one unit. And don't forget that Lahore was the capital city of one unit. If you had anything to do with the government and you were living in Balochistan, you had to come to to Lahore for solutions. That is when Lahore's reputation fell. The rest of the country saw Lahore as the ruling city of Pakistan. Most of the fond memories are earlier memories. If you read Aitzaz, Ahsan, he will tell you that when he came and Krishnanagar was evacuated because all the Hindus had to leave, that he lived there and he had come from UP together with Hassan Askari and they were both there. Two or three things which are, I think, which excite nostalgia is that there was the progressive movement of writers. It is a period in our lives which we will miss greatly now that the Taliban are on the horizon. We will find that these guys were not only progressive but also revolutionary in the sense that they were thinking of the common man more. And they were trying to incline Pakistan to non-alignment rather than alignment and non-confrontation with India, which I think we have realized now more than us. I think the Prime Minister and the former government of the PPP realized that we have to normalize relations with India and not consider it as a cultural and political threat. These early years are characterized by the revolutionary group and the non-revolutionary group. There were two literary circles, Aitzaz was in one, the other, all the left-wing writers were on the other. The dominant, of course, group was the left-wing groups. And somehow there were stragglers like, Manto, Askari, Aitzaz, who were not committed. The word was commitment, that you had to be committed. Now, over the years, this commitment has landed us into a lot of trouble. And I think the more you read Aitzaz Ahsan with his background of Hindu mythology, old Indian Mughal culture, you realize that his non-believing genius was probably more suited for the future of Pakistan. Commitment arises from certainty in your beliefs and a lack of self-doubt. I think today Muslims are killing each other because each sect believes in the certainty of his faith and has a commitment. That kind of commitment allows us to become violent. And all the identities over the years have become committed to themselves. And it happened only because the majority community, the Muslim community, or let's say the Sunni community, decided to intensify its identity. And this intensification has led to the intensification of the other identities. Lahore today is threatened, and therefore the nostalgia of Lahore is intensified. We remember those old days when you could walk very nicely on the mall. There were ladies walking on the pavement. There was also a lot of Christians who worked in the offices, and their presence was felt. In fact, the Christians, they didn't go, they were committed to Pakistan, they didn't leave Pakistan. But they were a very positive presence in Lahore. Over the years, all that has gone. People are migrating because the Lahore's veins are now constricted. It has become less and less open-hearted. And the main nostalgia of Lahore is its open heart and its generosity to people. It's the Punjabiness that we miss today, because most of the provinces think that it is the Punjabi dominance which was causing them suffering. Thank you.
Thank you. There are a lot of problems around. For example, in the walled city, over half the population is now Afghan. And not that I have anything against Afghans, but that very Lahore spirit which he is talking about. But from the immediate crisis, I'd like to go back, and who better in this land than Aitzaz to speak about where it started and how literature especially went up, and we have him. So I look at him not as a political figure or a lawyer, but as a person deeply interested in the Punjab especially. So, Aitzaz.
Very distinguished panel to be in, and I'm deeply honored by that. Already Pran and Khaled have spoken profoundly about Lahore. Lahore as a city has always been a city of resistance. It has faced challenges, it has faced invaders. One of the earliest poets of Lahore was Shah Massoud Sultan, who was a poet of resistance. And the poetry of resistance and literature of resistance has been the ethos of Lahore and Lahori literary tradition. And one fondly remembers that there is a nostalgia about it. The Park Tea House particularly as a focus in Lahore of all poets who came together. Shah Massoud Saad Sultan was detained by Mahmud Ghazni's great-grandson and died in prison. He was actually released shortly before his death, so he died outside prison, but his cause of his death was his very long, prolonged incarceration. And we've had that tradition of resistance. Abdullah Bhatti was a leader of the peasants. And you know, normally people go to the Lahore Fort and the guides mention various buildings and various, for instance, the Shish Mahal, the Darbar-e-Aam, and various great additions to the fort made by Akbar. Akbar had a beautiful and wonderful capital in Agra. Mughals' preferred capital was Agra. Their second was Delhi, which Shah Jahan mainly developed and was known as Shah Jahanabad after him. But Akbar left Delhi, Akbar left Agra to spend more than a decade in Lahore. And it was not really for the love of Lahore, it was to quell an insurgency of the peasantry and the local landowners who revolted against the heavy taxation. And Abdullah of Pindi Bhatia, you go on the motorway and there is an interchange of Pindi Bhatia. Abdullah of Pindi Bhatia was the leader of that revolt. And his mother is celebrated in the ballad as Laddi, Main Laddiyan, Mere Chare Paase Shukra Maarte Hoye Putra De Dhane. There is a vigor in the woman of Punjab and Lahore. And Abdullah's fabled love affair with Noora of Lahore and how he was arrested and executed in Lahore. But most importantly about Abdullah, he was contemporary with Shah Hussain. And Shah Hussain, who had seen Jahangir's time and then Akbar's time, Akbar had been pinned down to Lahore by Abdullah's revolt. Shah Hussain evoked a different expression, a Sufi expression of course, and his shrine, Madhulal Hussain, is in Bagbanpura, a suburb, then a suburb of Lahore, now a part of Lahore. And Shah Hussain became the Malamati Sufi. The lingo of the Sufis changed to one of resistance with Shah Hussain and one of change. The Bulle Shah tradition also of challenging, of denying, although Bulle Shah was Kasur, not Lahore. But that tradition continued through the centuries, and poets of resistance starting from early medieval times to our modern times. We have had Faiz. Iqbal, of course, was a leading poet of Lahore in his time, but Faiz was more focused on the poetry of resistance, of a class conflict, of the rich and poor, of exploitation. Habib Jalib, Ustad Daman, Sagar Siddiqui, Nasir Kazmi, Ahmed Nadeem Qasmi, Kishwar Nahid, Shabnam Shakil. Shabnam Shakil portrays the woman in a beautiful verse, which I must, I think you'd like. The predicament of a woman, and particularly when the Taliban are storming the gates, she says, आधी रेत के बाहर हूँ मैं, आधी अंदर गड़ी हुई हूँ, आधी मान गई हूँ उसकी, आधी बात पे अड़ी हुई हूँ. Amjad Islam Amjad, Sarmat Sabai, and the great, of course, greats like Saadat Hasan Manto. The young people here may not have heard of some names like Abdullah Malik, Safdar Mir, Zeno, a powerful intellectual and writer, also a poet, Professor Manzoor Hussain, Munnu Bhai, the much beloved Munnu Bhai, whose poem पर अजे क़यामत नहीं आई, बाल बदाले रंजे ने ते टिंड करा ली हीरा ने, बाल बदाले रंजे ने ते टिंड करा ली हीरा ने, मिर्जे खानू धोखा दिता ओदियां अपने तीरा ने, मीटर ला के खूब चलाई साहिबा ओदियां वीरा ने, पर अजे क़यामत नहीं आई. And it goes on, it's a long poem. Babsi Sidwa, Intazar Hussain, and I see Sarwat Muhyiddin sitting here. These are the people who made Lahore and many other younger satellites, writers, poets. So Lahore has been a city of the Sufis also, with the first Sufi people compete, which was the first one to set up a teaching institution with a plurality. Abdullah Shah Ghazi of Karachi or Data Ganbaksh of Lahore, but Data Saab, Shah Hussain, Mian Mir, these were shrines visited by Hindus, Sikhs, Muslims, and there was no categorization, no exclusion, they were inclusivists. And Muinuddin Chishti, the Peer of Ajmer, he spent 40 days outside Data Saab's shrine performing a chilla, and he's the one who said, Gan Bakshe Faiz Alam Mazare Noore Khuda, Na Kasana Peere Kamal Kamunara Na Khuda. And if you go to Ajmer or Nizamuddin Auliya, which is the same kind of tradition, you will probably find, and I've been there, probably find more Hindu women coming and paying respect to those priests, to those saints, than even Muslim women. So Lahore has had a tradition of plurality. Unfortunately, there has been, and our younger generation is, I think, unlucky and unfortunate. I see when I go to Delhi, for instance, my school fellows and college fellows who have their children or grandchildren now going to schools, you find a Muslim boy sitting with a Hindu girl, with a Sikh boy, a Parsi, a Christian, all in the same class. And plurality adds to the depth and to the expanse of their personalities. Unfortunately, for Lahore in particular, there have been many ethnic cleansing, many dates you can identify where we cleansed ourselves ethnically. The first was 1947-48, when we got rid of most of the Hindus and the Sikhs. Many were uprooted on that side. The madness was on both sides. As Ustad Daman, another great Lahore personality and poet, said, Lali Akhiyan Di Pai Dasdi hai, when he went to Delhi for a mushara, Lali Akhiyan Di Pai Dasdi hai, Rohit Tusi Vi Sao, Rohit Asi Vi Sao. So it was both sides, but I'm talking of Lahore, what Lahore lost. Lahore lost plurality in 1947. There yet remained the Christians. And there was, when I went to school in the 50s, we had Hindus, we had Christians, students with us, but we cleansed the Christians in the 1980s. And most of them have had to leave. Even now, we burn down Godra, we burn down Jacob Colony, and a Christian, any Christian child that is born, 99.99%, he is born to live among the sewers of our city. It's a tragedy. It's a great tragedy. Lahore, as I look at it, for all its vibrance and for all the lovely and beautiful thing that the organizers of the Lahore Literary Festival are doing, I find Lahore as a tragedy. And now we no longer are a plural city. We removed all the statues. Malka Victoria statue, the younger generation hasn't seen. Lawrence's statue, they haven't seen. There is one, I won't identify it, only because of the fear that it may also be removed. So, quite frankly, we lost out on Quratul and Heather, and I would very strongly recommend young people to read Aap Ka Darya. और हर आखिर शब के हम सफर. We lost Ismat Chugtai, we lost Sajjad Zahir, we lost a whole lot of people who would have added to our society, but there was pervading McCarthyism in the 50s and the 60s, and then in the 1980s under Ziaullah. There was McCarthyism. Anybody who disagreed would be out. But yet, fortunately, we have a strong community of younger, relatively younger, they're now probably maybe considered old poets and writers like Amjad Islam Amjad and Asghar Sayyid, who recently escaped an attempt on his life. But finally, I will only say, nostalgically speaking, fondly remembering the Lahore that I lived in as a young man, as a student. Habib Jalib wrote a long poem called the Masnavi on how he was uprooted in 47 from his village in Miani Patana in the Gurdaspur district, and how he came to Pakistan, wandering, how he suffered here, and then the present, and speaks about the future. But there is one verse in the middle of it, a hinge in his poem, which turns the poem really turns about it, and it describes Lahore of the past and the present. In one small verse he says, and I will conclude by saying and recounting that verse. In one verse, Habib Jalib says, Ye baja zeest pa pyada thi. It is true that we didn't have cars or motorbikes, we walked around, we cycled around Lahore. Ye baja zeest pa pyada thi, धूप से छाँव तो ज़्यादा थी.
Let me add to what Aitzaz has just said by a little anecdote. After 1971, when Bangladesh was made, in the Party House, all the intellectuals were sitting, and Habib Jalib entered in an agitated state and said, Faiz Sahab, बहुत बुरी खबर है, बहुत बुरी खबर है. Faiz Sahab ने कहा, क्या है? And he said, हमने साइंसी तज्जिया किया है, ये बाकी भी टूट जाएगा. तो फैज साहब ने कहा, बैठे चाय पिए, मेरे पास इससे भी बुरी खबर है. इससे बुरी खबर क्या हो सकती है? तो he said, ये मुल्क ऐसे ही चलता रहेगा. ये लाहौर चलता रहेगा. And for a final presentation from about Lahore and how he sees it, hopefully a slightly more optimistic view, let me introduce Faqir Sayyid Aijazuddin.
Thank you very much indeed, Majeed. First of all, I have an earnest prayer, and that is that when Aitzaz becomes the Chief Justice of Pakistan, he will issue orders. And the first order should be that no one should be allowed to speak after him. But since he's not the Chief Justice yet, I'm going to take the liberty of saying a few remarks. I know the time is limited, so I won't tax your patience. I'm reminded, I was mentioning this to Pran a little earlier, we talk about history, we talk about the culture, we talk about the division of the Punjab and nostalgia. I'll deal with them in not necessarily in the same order, but I'll just give you an example of misplaced nostalgia and of the tendency to doctor history. The past is another country. Aitzaz has mentioned it, Pran has mentioned it, Khaled has. It's another country. But it's a country that has stood divided in the same way as the Punjab was. Some years ago, when I was in one of the prominent colleges here as principal, we had a delegation that came from Bishop Garden, Shimla. And the person leading the delegation wanted to meet the then Governor, Salman Taseer, and rather unexpectedly, he maintained, this gentleman, that Aijazuddin Ahmed had been educated at Bishop Garden, Shimla. And I said, I doubt it, I don't think so. He said, no, you investigate. I said, I've checked all the books that I know, and he was educated at Sindh Madrasa, then he went to Bombay, and from Bombay he went on to the Inns of Court. He said, no. I said, you're a guest. So I'm not going to knowingly disagree with you, but I will concede that Aijazuddin Ahmed was educated at Bishop Garden School in Shimla, provided you agree that Mahatma Gandhi was educated at Aitzaz College, Lahore. Now I mention this because as a rather flippant way of saying that one has to be very careful about looking at the past and about being tempted to rewrite history. When we talk about nostalgia, we have two generations who are sitting here. One generation that grew up and left for India before 1947, another generation that never saw a pre-partition Punjab, at least not consciously. So for us, in my generation, if I may describe it, if you like, in Salman Rushdie's words, the Midnight's children, we do not know of any other country, we do not know of any other city except Lahore. So when we talk about nostalgia, and I'm going to work in reverse, when we talk about nostalgia, one has to remember that the Punjab was divided. 1/3 went to the Indian side, 2/3 remained with us. All the tangible assets, 1/3 went there, 2/3 remained with us, paintings in the War Museum, the London sculpture, etc. But the immovable assets remained here. So we have Lahore, and they had nothing. So I could understand why a generation of Indians still alive is so nostalgic about Lahore, and I could equally understand why this generation on our side of the water is so possessive of it. Now, when we talk, and Khaled had mentioned this about this, let's all get together with one, and you've been across the border many times, and they talk about Lahore, and our ancestors, our grandfather lived there, and they come here, and they visit houses, etc. The reunification of Punjab, I'm going to stick my neck out, it is a myth. It is an impossible myth, for a very practical reason. We had 2/3 of the Punjab. On the other side, they had 1/3 of the Punjab, which has since been trifurcated into Haryana, into Himachal Pradesh, the hill states used to be part of the larger Punjab, and into Punjab itself. So which one are we talking about? Are we talking about 2/3 here and then 3 elements of 1/3, 1/6 each? I can't see it as a practical possibility. What I would like to talk about, though, is the fact that, and it's been alluded to by speakers, and Chaudhry Sahib has very eloquently mentioned the level of depression that he feels of seeing Lahore. Chaudhry Sahib, I agree with you. Living in Lahore today, and anybody who has witnessed the plurality that existed before 1947 and the fertility that existed post-1947, you mentioned, sir, you talked about Faisal. Anybody who had heard Faisal recite his poetry in Sheikh Saab's house Anybody who has seen Sadikan painting in the Lahore Museum, anybody who has seen Khaled Iqbal teaching here at this, what used to be the Alhambra, it was a small little building here. Anybody who has heard Roshan Ara Begum at the all-night all-Pakistan music conferences. Anybody who had sat in the Pakistan Tea House, and I have here K.K. Aziz's book, in which on page 23 he mentions 300 people who used to frequent the Pakistan Tea House from all walks of life. There were lawyers, there were journalists, there were writers, there were singers, etc. Which is the equivalent that we have today of the Pakistan Tea House. So in a sense, I share Chaudhry Saab's apprehensions that we are becoming a monolithic society, not a pluralistic one. And worse than that, we're going to end up like an old boys boarding school, which has no women in it, or no place for women. Let me move on though, because you haven't come here to be depressed. You've come here to hear what we have to say as persons who have lived our lives, but we're hoping that when you reach our ages, that you will have contributed far more than we have done. We've tried our best in our own ways, but the field is open for you. And I'm sure that people like you will do even better. And that is why I laud the efforts of people like Shahzia Sikandar, because I feel that they have excelled in a field which was originally regarded as being, forbidden as far as artists in this area was concerned. Miniature painting was reproduced. There was nothing innovative about it. And yet, today, and I've heard this repeatedly in India, Lahore is regarded as the crucible of the modern approach to miniature painting, the revivalist movement. So what started off 100 years ago at the Mayo School of Arts has now been revived 100 years later through the efforts of people like Shahzia. So I am totally optimistic as far as the future is concerned, because I'm sure you do a better job of it than we did. Let me just conclude by saying that I'm proud to be a Lahori. I'm proud that I grew up here. I'm proud that 9 generations of my family lived here. That's not to boast, by the way. If you go back, all of you had 9 generations before you. So it's just that mine were better documented. But I think anybody who has lived in Lahore and cares for Lahore would value your presence here today. Because by your presence, you are signifying that Lahore matters, that Lahore must remain, and that the spirit, and what Chaudhry Saab has so rightly said, the plurality, and we can't create other religions. What we can do is to honor every belief that exists, whichever religion it happens to be. I was particularly honored when Mira Fargus is here.